Yes, Miss Asma.
Good evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome to this insightful session on Sustainability Talk. I'm Asma Nasreen, your host for today's discussion, where we will explore how we can integrate sustainability into our daily lives and inspire change in our communities. I'm truly honored to have such a distinguished gathering of experts, practitioners, and eco enthusiasts joining us today. Thank you all for taking the time to be here. Let's begin by inviting two incredible leaders who have been working tirelessly to create a sustainable impact on a global scale. It's my pleasure to welcome Mr. Abdul Diwali Mohammed, founder and Group Executive President of Africa Asia Scholars Global Network and Chairman of the Global South Economic Forum, UK, and Mr. Nara Subramaniam, CEO of Resolve Asia, Malaysia, and President of Eco Visionaries Global Group. Together, they will engage in a thought provoking face to face discussion on sustainability, leadership, and global cooperation. We look forward to their insights. Over to you, Abdullah Diwali sir and Nara sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Asma. Again, a very warm welcome to each and every one of you. And thank you, Dr. Halima, for creating this platform for all of us. And also, it's indeed my honor and big pleasure to have this discourse with Mr. Abdul Diwali Muhammad. He's such an esteemed person with all of this experience and leadership that he has shown over the last few years, particularly when we are starting to talk about SDGs. And in the course of the SDGs, one of the things which I had the pleasure to speak with Mr. Diwali was the fact that knowing is not enough, doing is more important. But doing alone is not enough. Doing it effectively and having an efficient enforcement, that is more important. So today we are going to focus on the SDG 12. We are talking all about consumption and production, and how do we do this in a sustainable manner. So if I would like to start off with Mr. Diwali, maybe you could actually start off, please, by telling us a little bit about yourself, and also you can explain to us some of the key principles of the SDG 12 in terms of why is it so crucial for sustainable development.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rana. And it's a great pleasure to be invited by the Eco Visionaries Global Group to speak on a very concerned, what would I call it? Is a policy or drive or movement within the United Nations over the last 10 years. So thank you very much. This is a very topical thing, and the fact that it's been one of my major concerns over the years, because as the Second United Nations Global Compact, we write reports to the United Nations, directly to the Secretary General of the United Nations. And my experience has not been very good with the UN, because certain things that were flagged off were not being considered, and we don't even see whether maybe even our report has been looked at. Because we believe that if they're looked at, the United Nations will not be scoring just merely 15% after 10 years. That's a total failure. And those are our concerns. That's why when I spoke, when I'm being asked to speak on sustainability, I tend to say that even do we understand the SDGs? So you find that all universities all over the world are talking about SGS. And I remember there's a time when even the current, the Deputy Secretary General of United Nations, Amina Mohammed, did also show that concern about how because the Global Compact consists of both the private sector, particularly the private sector, and then the NGOs. And those are to drive this issue of the SDGs 12 and other, not all the other aspects of the SGS. So basically, like I always say, that sometimes it seems like we are treating the symptom, but not the problem. And when you treat the symptom, not the problem, then it's like you're not very realistic about what exactly you're doing to society. So to introduce myself, well, when in 2012, I have always been doing charity all my life. I set up a orphanage in Africa, Nigeria particularly. And in the UK, I set up the first African children organization in the UK. And 2010, I think, I realized that we don't really care about children all over the world. And that's a fact. Because most people who are 60, 70, 80 today will tell you that the world was better when they were younger. So I have to always throw them a question and say, if you're saying that to me, then you're part of the problem. Because we're all supposed to do something to make the change. So how can you be 60, 70 and telling that your life was better when you were younger? So I think I will put it the way that our life, majority of people on earth today, their life has been mortgaged. We have, our conscience particularly has been mortgaged. And that's why we don't face reality. And that's why we deal with symptoms rather than dealing with the problems. Because the problem, the fact that UN could not achieve is because of who we are, the system that has brought us, and the manner in which, because we've realized that the world itself, we can't even, what will I call it? We're not good managers. We can't even manage ourselves. Leadership has failed. And so if these things are there, and I want to take it back to how I would say I'm being, how will I say is that whatever I say, a fact, because in 2018, the World Economic Forum, which drives most of the policy in this world, said the world is fractured. And that was their 46th conference in Switzerland, in Davos. And I was very happy that they were bold enough to tell the world. But what has happened since 2018? I have not seen any drive to ensure that we can deal with our fractured world. But however, we as an organization, and that's, what will I call the Signature United Nations Global Compact, and the fact that that 46th conference in 2018 was chaired by a woman, we decided to call for a meeting in UN with the UN women. And believe you me, sitting there with the UN Executive Director and the Secretary General and our team, I mean, because sometimes we're not being honest with ourselves. When people get to the UN, they feel, oh, they're now on the high, what will I call it, on a more higher pedestal, rather than looking at how can they support the UN? How can they change the narratives with the UN? So as an organization, I told the UN, the Secretary General, and I said, UN women, you do not even understand the value of women. It was even at that meeting, I took their mind back that the conference in January, because that was in July 19th, that we met at the headquarters of the United Nations UN Women in New York. And I took them back to the fact that even when the World Economic Forum invited women to co-chair for the first time, there was not even an African woman in there. So even the UN should have flagged this up, but it doesn't happen. So we told them that is part of injustice, unfairness in our system. And even if you look at it, 1.4 billion people in our society, where they do not have any rights to the policy-driven or decisions made by the United Nations. And that's Africa. Africa is not even. So, and when the United Nations start telling you about, what do you call it, centered policies, inclusiveness, we preach what we know. So why are we fooling ourselves? So, however, what we're doing, because I've always told people, because we're very used at complaining. We're very good we're masters in complaining. So I've always said, if you don't have a solution, don't criticize.
Yes.
So we have a solution. And so for the past 15 years, we've been doing extensive research. I've raised over 50 million pounds supporting children in my life. But in 2010, I realized that, look, if we have good policies that are more diverse, society would change completely. So what we've done is to force is how do we set up a structure? Because if you don't have a structure, and if that structure is not built on trust, and because the United Nations was not totally built on trust, or within a period, it changed completely to the issue of conscience being mortgaged for the society. And that's why you find that the UN had said so much about, and to be sincere, the Secretary of the United Nations is very, very sincere. I feel sometimes, because he has seen that there's not much. Even the statement I sent out yesterday to the world was about the fact that if the United Nations decides not to support or pull its support away from the United States.
We completely agree,
Yes.
Mr. Diwale. We completely agree with you. Yes, yes. So,
yes.
yeah.
So, yeah, I thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And I fully agree with you that trust becomes one of the fundamental pillars for this. And I wish we could actually have more time to really do a masterclass just on this subject alone. And again, taking from the message which you sent out yesterday and publicized it so well and so appropriately, can I ask you, how can businesses and industries be more encouraged to adopt sustainable consumption and production processes? I know we have a few minutes, but in what way do you think the industries can be encouraged to be more responsible in terms of production and consumption?
He says, thank you very much, Mr. Rana. You see, that's what we look for is success of our society. I deal with the global South. I deal with 134 countries of the world, and that's where my remit is. My remit has been on over to see how can we, because if we talk about, there are other organizations, like Eco Visionary Global, EduFarm, there are a lot of civil society organizations doing great things. But the fact is that if the mindset or the system does not allow, and that's why we're failing. If we don't address this, that's why I said, let's not be dealing with symptoms.
Yeah.
Let's deal with the problems.
True.
So
Very
the
true.
aspect is that we can say, there's some that are doing great things. It's not that you cannot continue, at least even if we've scored 15%. What are those 15%? They could be the good example for others to follow. Correct. So that we can change our society. So if you want to, that's why I always look at when I'm invited to an event or to speak, I always ask, after this, what's next? What impact, what outcome do you want to come with? Because there's no point, because I can tell you, we've had conferences over the last many decades. But why are we not making changes? Conferences have been held international every year. We've had how many webinars now since COVID came, and the webinar is now become, have we had? So if we don't deal with this, the mindset of people, we can't see changes. I am talking about a fractured world. We are talking about fragmented education. We should look at it. If we're dealing with this, let's be sincere. How can we leave something for our children? Sure. That is what we're talking about. So the conscious, responsible consumption and production is still about mindset of people.
Yes.
If their mindset is not used to how to manage themselves in consumption or even in the area of production, because everybody is now money conscious, driven. And in that fact, and if I come to see, if we want to treat the problem and you want to look at this program being very, very, effective, that people will want to really listen and start that little change that will not happen in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, but it's going to take, let's start now. That is where we start.
True. Agreed.
So
I fully agree with you.
This is that it's one of very important of the 17 goals. But let me put it right here. 2015, 2013, because Millennium Development Goals is between 2015 and 2030. And then in 2013, the UN says, okay, what are we going to tell the world about the Millennium Development Goals of 2000 to 2015? So they had a panel, high-level panel, which was led by Indonesian president, Liberian president, and my prime minister here, David Cameron, in 2013. And in Bali, they told us what to do. Renewed global partnership, people-centered policies. What happened in 2015? The UN brought 17 goals. And let me be honest with you. When we take 12 SDGs 12 now, we should realize that most SDGs are overlapping. Let's be honest with ourselves. Overlapping. Okay. So the point is we need to look at it. The 12 consortium, if you do not have, what will I call it, People that are just to say, look, I need to give, not always to collect, to receive.
Correct.
If you
Yes,
cannot
not to
have that
receive.
mindset, people wanting to, looking at life as give and take, consumption and responsible consumption and production will always find a situation where people know how to maneuver.
Yes.
We don't have, let me even take three things, which is under the to deal with this SDGs 12. If you look at the issue of why our world is fractured, it affects a lot of things. First is the rule of law. We are asking they have to visit the rule of law. When there's rule of law, then you can enforce, because you will still find elements who will ensure they will derail the plan about getting ensured by consumption, because it's quite very important, consumption and production, because we are dealing with the lives of humans.
Yeah.
And so we know a lot of things the private sector does in order to be able to maximize profit. And then in consumption, a lot of people, we talk about even today, people probably take a lot of sugar in some of this product, and then you find what you call about the having problem with medicals in terms of people being obese and the rest of it, because the production of what they are eating, because they're not well enlightened, they're not well informed. So these things happen all the time. And we know about climate change. And even if you look at the level of the leadership now with even Donald Trump coming as president of the United Nations, we know what is happening about climate change. Climate change will reflect on the SDGs 12.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I want your organization, your group, to really deal with the problems rather than the symptoms.
Thank you, sir.
Most of the times, we what do you call it? A broken wall that you're just trying to, sort of, unless you have to rebuild.
Yes, we
Yes.
will work together.
Fully
Yes,
agree.
sure. We will work, inshallah.
Fully
Yes.
agree. Fully agree. I really want to thank you, Dr. Mr. Abdul Diwali. And I think the key thing which actually comes out definitely from you, I can see your passion really is very overflowing. Very important is trust. Very important is deal with the issue, not just looking at the symptoms. Things will never get done. And I would like to agree with you that all the SDGs are having an overlap and they do need very, very specific attention. So, Dr. Harima, I think we have the time. I think I would really like to recommend that we have Mr. Diwali back again, and we should take a 1 to 2 hour masterclass with him for the benefit of all of us. And a quick one, just to close with Mr. Abdul Diwali, that the Eco Visionary Group has also come out with a beautiful newsletter, and we have come out with many interesting items contributed by all of our members. And we want to now even take it beyond the shores and heading over to the United Nations with that. And we want to work with all different agencies around the world. So thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
If I can I quickly just give you,
Sure.
I think I will encourage that the EduFarm Eco Visionary Global Group should look at the Nordic countries,
Okay.
Denmark, Scandinavian countries, and
Sure.
also Finland is not under Scandinavian, but they're under Nordic. These are the four
Yes.
countries that are achieving on the SDGs,
Yes,
which is
I agree with
inclusive of the SDGs 12. So I
Sure.
will call that you try to see how can you let these countries come on your
Okay.
program to tell people how they're doing it, so that people can learn from
Yes.
such countries who are at least achieving on this
Yeah.
area subject matter. The more we can see those with good practice, those who are in partnership and are doing well, that is the only way we can start to build trust, that in
Yes.
partnership, there is more for everybody. But the fact that
Correct.
today people are scared to partner in real by giving you ideas of how they achieve. But if we believe that we all can come together, bring ideas on board, and end of the day, there's so much for all of us. If we believe in
Yes.
that, we can start to move forward.
Thank you. I fully agree that we will take that as an action item. I myself have noted that down, and I think we cannot do these things by ourselves. We need to hold hands with everyone else around the world. Thank you so much, Mr. Diwali. I think you have been a huge inspiration. Like I said, I love your passion, and we want to take advantage of that. Back to you, Dr. Halima, and we have a few action items from this discussion just now. Thank you so much.